So you're after more than just a whirlwind of tourist traps and blurry photo ops. You want to really sink your teeth into a new culture.
Right.
Well, get this. Slow travel. It's not just about visiting. It's about living a place, even if just for a bit.
Exactly. Ditch the frantic race against the clock and imagine, say, a charming village in Provence. 2 weeks wouldn't be about 5 countries, but really experiencing one.
Okay, I'm hooked already, but paint me a picture. What does experiencing it actually look like?
Picture yourself at the local markets. You know the vendors' names. You're a regular at the cafe, not just another tourist. You're part of the daily rhythm, not just watching it go by. Those nuances, most people miss those.
It's like you become a temporary local.
Mm.
But is it actually relaxing or just a different kind of stress? And what about missing out on those big ticket attractions?
It's all about picking the right destination. Think Ubud in Bali, not just for the beauty, but its soul. You could spend weeks exploring those hidden temples, maybe a Balinese cooking class. Each day is a new layer of the culture you see.
It's less a checklist of landmarks, more like weaving your own tapestry of experiences. Amazing.
Mhm.
But logistically, how does one even slow travel? Do I need to completely revamp how I travel?
More a mindset shift than a complete overhaul. Toss that rigid itinerary out the window and pack some flexibility. Embrace spontaneity.
So,
Yeah.
so instead of a strict sightseeing schedule, it's more like a cooking class in the morning, stumble upon a local festival in the afternoon, that kind of thing.
Precisely. You're making room for those happy accidents, those authentic moments that become stories you can't find in any guidebook.
And the stories you tell, not just the Eiffel Tower was tall, but real insights. Okay, I'm sold on the concept, but it still feels a little daunting.
The best part is you can ease into it, even a long weekend, right in your city. Maybe try a new part of town, ditch the car, hop on public transport, try that little hole-in-the-wall restaurant you always pass. It's all about shifting your perspective.
You're right, you don't need a plane ticket to start seeing things with fresh eyes. But for those ready to venture out, what places really capture this slow travel philosophy?
We found some fantastic examples in our research. Let's start with a place practically made for a slower pace. Provence, France.
Provence. It just screams charming villages, fields of lavender, amazing food and wine. But what makes it especially great for slow travel?
It's more than just the scenery, it's the lifestyle. Sipping coffee at a cafe, no rush, wandering through local markets, picking up fresh produce, cycling through vineyards.
Okay, stop. You're making me want to book a flight right now. Sounds idyllic. But for someone looking for a mix of old traditions and modern conveniences, what would you suggest?
Chiang Mai in Thailand might just be the ticket.
Chiang Mai. I've heard it has something for everyone, but what makes it a good fit for this slow travel idea?
Picture this. Starting your day with a traditional breakfast after meditating at a peaceful temple. Later, you're learning Thai massage, then haggling for crafts at a night market. It's a city that's alive, but also invites you to slow down. Really connect with its heritage.
Chiang Mai sounds like that perfect balance of energy and peace. That's what's so interesting about slow travel. It's not about being bored. It's about finding the rhythm of a place, the one you miss in the tourist rush.
Exactly. It's about those pockets of authenticity that show you the true heart of a place. And speaking of authentic, we found a place that just oozes it, with a rich artistic spirit and a colonial past. San Miguel de Allende in Mexico.
Oh, San Miguel de Allende. The architecture is stunning, and I've heard great things about the expat community. What else makes it a good fit for our deep dive?
Imagine this. You're strolling down cobblestone streets, colorful buildings everywhere. You wander into a workshop, learn the art of silver making, a tradition passed down for generations. You find this hidden courtyard, sipping tequila, listening to local musicians sharing their stories. It's the kind of place you could lose yourself in for weeks.
Sounds magical. You've definitely got my attention. So we've got Provence, Chiang Mai, and San Miguel de Allende. But our slow travel journey isn't over yet, is it? What other hidden gems did we uncover?
Let's hop over to Europe, to a city known for its green spaces and sustainability. Ljubljana, Slovenia.
Ljubljana. I'll admit, not as familiar with it, but I'm always up for discovering new places. What makes it stand out as a slow travel haven?
Picture this. You're walking along the Ljubljanica River. The water's this gorgeous green, reflecting the bridges and buildings. You come across a farmer's market, overflowing with local produce, artisan cheeses, and you end up chatting with a family about sustainable living. Or maybe you're exploring the medieval castle, taking your time to imagine the stories held within its walls.
Sounds perfect for those who want to be immersed in nature and culture without leaving a big footprint.
Exactly. Hulabuljana blends historical charm with that modern eco-consciousness. But what really makes these places special are the deeper experiences they encourage, those authentic encounters. And that's where it gets really interesting. But we'll delve into those hidden gems after a quick break. Stay tuned.
As amazing as all those places sound, we got to be real, right? There are going to be some bumps along the way. Like any good adventure, slow travel comes with its own challenges.
Right, it can't all be sunshine and lavender fields. So let's talk about those roadblocks. What do people struggle with when they first try slow travel?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles is that fear of missing out, that feeling of, I'm only here once, especially when everyone around you is checking things off their bucket list.
Oh, totally. Social media makes it even worse, right? Constant stream of picture-perfect moments. How can someone quiet that voice that says, see it all, do it all, while trying to embrace slow travel? It comes down to being intentional. Slow travel is about deciding how you spend your time and energy. Asking yourself, what experiences really matter to me, not how much can I cram in?
So it's about quality over quantity, choosing a few things to really dive into instead of just skimming the surface of a dozen others.
Exactly. Depth over breadth. And sometimes those unplanned moments, the ones you just stumble upon, those are the most rewarding.
There's that word again, serendipity. It seems key to the whole slow travel thing. But being spontaneous is tough, especially for us planners. How do you find that balance between structure and flexibility?
It's a balancing act, for sure. You don't want to be glued to an itinerary and miss those magical detours, but you don't want to be wandering around aimlessly either.
So maybe have a few key things in mind, but leave plenty of room for improvisation.
You got it. Think of it as a loose guide, not a rule book. A chance encounter with a local artist, an impromptu picnic with an amazing view, a hidden cafe down a charming side street. Those are the memories you hold on to.
Those are the stories people want to hear. Let's talk practicalities for a second, especially for longer slow travel. Budget has to be a big one.
For sure. Maintaining that slow travel lifestyle long-term takes some planning, especially financially. Do your research. The cost of living can vary wildly. What's a steal in one place could break the bank in another.
It's easy to think that slow automatically equals expensive. But that's not always true, is it?
Not at all. In fact, slow travel can often be easier on the wallet than traditional tourism, especially if you're up for doing things like a local. Skip the fancy restaurants and cook with fresh ingredients from the market. Trade those overpriced tourist traps for free activities, hiking, exploring, soaking up the atmosphere at a local cafe.
It's that mindset shift again, tourist to temporary local. Makes sense. What about those who want to make slow travel their lifestyle? How do you make it financially sustainable?
We're seeing more and more digital nomads figuring out ways to fund their adventures. Working remotely lets you earn income from anywhere with a decent internet connection. Others might pick up temporary gigs or freelance work.
That's so inspiring. Work and travel don't have to be separate things anymore. But let's touch on another challenge with long-term travel. Homesickness. It's great to embrace life on the road, but what about missing the comforts of home?
It's something every traveler experiences at some point, especially when you're living out of a suitcase. It's important to acknowledge those feelings and find ways to cope.
Any practical tips for dealing with homesickness while still embracing slow travel?
Staying connected with loved ones is huge. Technology makes it easier than ever. Schedule video calls, send emails, even a postcard, something tangible they can hold.
Those little things mean a lot. But it's not just about keeping up existing connections, right? It's also about finding community wherever you go.
Exactly. Don't underestimate human connection. Chat with fellow travelers, join local groups, make an effort to connect with people. Building those relationships can really enrich your experience.
It's about turning strangers into friends, new places into temporary homes. Speaking of unfamiliar territory, let's talk language barriers. Those can be intimidating, especially off the beaten path.
Communication can definitely be tricky when you're dealing with a language barrier. English is common in tourist spots, but venture out a bit, and it's not always the case.
So what's the best way to handle that? Should we all be fluent in a dozen languages before we even book a flight?
Definitely not. Even a few basic phrases in the local language can make a world of difference. It shows respect and often leads to more genuine interactions.
It's about meeting people halfway. Any tips for learning those essential phrases?
Oh, tons. We've got language learning apps, online courses, even just practicing with locals whenever you can. Don't be scared to make mistakes. People are usually very forgiving.
That's good to hear. It's all part of the process, right?
Hmm?
Okay, shifting gears to something important no matter your travel style. Safety. You can't help but be a little more aware when you're in unfamiliar surroundings.
Absolutely. Safety should always come first, and surprisingly, slow travel can actually be an advantage.
Really? How so? I think moving slowly would make you more vulnerable.
It seems counterintuitive, but think about it. Spending more time in one place lets you really understand the environment. You get to know the rhythms of life, the neighborhoods. You might even start to recognize faces.
You develop a feel for the place, and that helps you spot red flags.
Exactly. That familiarity helps you make smarter decisions about your safety and remember those connections. Having a local network is invaluable, especially in a new place.
It's like having a built-in support system. People who can tell you the safe areas, the local customs, a friendly face when you need one.
Precisely. So, slow travel has its challenges, but it also offers a unique advantage when it comes to safety. It's about being prepared, staying informed, and trusting your gut.
It sounds like slow travel is as much about the journey inward as it is about the places you visit. But we've talked a lot about connecting with local cultures. What does that actually look like? How do you move beyond just observing and really engage with a culture?
That is a great question and one that deserves its own conversation. So, after a quick pause, we're diving into the heart of authentic travel experiences. Stay with us.
All right, ready to dive into those authentic travel experiences. We talked about connecting with a culture, but how do you actually do that? What does it look like when you're actually there?
Think of it as shifting from watching to doing. Instead of just snapping a pic of the market, imagine getting a little lost in it. Breathe it all in. The smells, the colors, the sounds of vendors and haggling, those details, that's what brings a place to life, you know?
I love that engaging all your senses. It's amazing how a smell can bring back a whole memory, but it can be a little scary to step outside that comfort zone. Any tips for someone who wants to engage more but doesn't know where to start?
Start with being curious. That's the key. Instead of rushing off to the next landmark, just hang back at a local cafe for a bit. Watch how people interact, how their day flows. You'd be surprised what you pick up just by observing.
It's true, we miss so much when we're busy checking things off our lists.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate a genuine smile, you know? A willingness to communicate, even if you don't speak the language. Gestures, a simple hello in the local language, those things go a long way.
Meeting people halfway, showing you're interested in their world. Are there activities that are especially good for that kind of exchange?
Definitely. Food's a big one. Instead of that familiar chain restaurant, seek out a local place, one the tourists haven't completely taken over.
Even better, take a cooking class.
There you go. Learning a traditional dish is like unlocking a little piece of history, something passed down for generations. You're connecting with more than just ingredients, you're connecting with a culture.
I can just imagine the stories and the laughs you'd share in a setting like that. It makes me think of other hands-on things too, like arts and crafts.
Another winner. Imagine learning batik painting in Indonesia or pottery in a little Italian village. Those are the experiences that stay with you long after you're home.
It's more than a souvenir. It's a story, a new skill, a piece of another culture you carry with you. For those who want to go even deeper, what else is out there?
Volunteering and homestays are amazing ways to really embed yourself in a community.
Tell me more. I've always been intrigued by volunteer tourism, but I've heard mixed reviews.
You got to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons and that you find organizations doing good work. But when it's done right, it's an incredible way to give back and gain a much deeper understanding of a place.
It's not just about helping, it's about a two-way exchange. You offer your skills, but you're also learning and growing from the experience.
Exactly. And with homestays, imagine waking up in a local home, sharing breakfast with a family, hearing their stories, seeing life through their eyes. That kind of authenticity is hard to find anywhere else.
It's like you're living in a travel documentary, but without the cameras and the script. Unscripted
Right.
and real exciting, but I bet it comes with its own set of challenges.
Oh, for sure. It's not always easy, but that's part of the reward. You're pushing your boundaries, rolling with the punches, and ultimately finding a deeper connection with the world and with yourself. And isn't that what travel is all about?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into slow travel, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
Remember, it's not about rules or checklists. Slow travel is a mindset. It's about approaching the world with curiosity, an open heart, and saying yes to the journey, whatever that looks like for you.
And it's a journey that can start anywhere, anytime. No plane ticket needed, just the willingness to slow down, pay attention, and find those moments of wonder wherever you are.
Exactly. Whether you're exploring a new continent or your own neighborhood, remember to really be present, engage your senses, and be open to the unexpected. You never know what you might discover.
On that note, we've come to the end of our slow travel deep dive. We hope you feel inspired to pack your bags or even just your curiosity and embark on your own adventure one slow, deliberate, and rewarding step at a time.